it's a genuine pleasure to speak to Carolyn Paul, who's the, I've got to get this right, the Edelman's Global Managing Director and Chair of EMEA Health. We're talking to you about health and how it relates to our Trends Report, Tipping Points today. So although we have, this a large number of kind of like very powerful, wealthy, influential people who are older, the stigma attached to being and seeming physically older is still there. We all saw that Shaky Joe stuff last year.
Yes. I think there is still a stigma associated with aging, but I think like many of the things we're talking about, like retirement age, these are outdated concepts. And to a certain extent, I think businesses have to help change that. And innovating specifically for that older generation, for the 55 plus, will help that, because it will suddenly start to change the perception of them. I mean, our perceptions of people over the age of 55 and 65 is mostly rooted in probably the TV programs we grew up with when we were kids, where they were, Ina Sharples in Coronation Street.
Absolutely.
Very British.
I mean, that's a bit. I know who you mean. I didn't watch it on the telly.
Of, very elderly-looking, frail battle axes with hairnets, or blue rinses, twin sets and pearls. You can't buy twin sets and pearls anymore. And the media and society's view is slightly back in the 1950s. And it needs to be dragged forward a little bit more. And businesses should be helping do that.
I find that really interesting, because even just looking for stock imagery of older people having a nice time, it's really striking.
Did you find the farmers market?
I did.
The golf club? The allotment?
The one I particularly liked most was woman in headscarf, right?
Or the headscarf.
And like nobody...
other than the Queen.
Woman in headscarf, man in a fedora on a park bench looking at the grey sea. It was like it could have been shot in 1985. It really could. It's the miners' strike going on, but I think what you're pointing to is something like really something really salient, kind of like the need to update what the semiotics of being an older person in the world really look like.
Yeah, and the marketing and advertising agencies need to change, because they're still producing imagery. The older couple at the garden centre.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we all like a garden centre now and again. So that's not all I do. And the other thing is this, that businesses are tending to do, is take this very homogenous view of 55 plus.
Yeah.
There's huge differences, between someone of 55, 65, 75, 85, even 95. This is not one single block of people who all think the same, buy the same, want the same, look the same.
Yeah. That brings us on to the last thing I wanted to talk to you about, because we've talked about the need to kind of like reframe what aging looks like. We've talked about the need to think about targeting innovation to older people to meet their needs, because that's where the growth's going to come from. But I think there's something kind of like bigger on top of all of that, which is, how is it that if you're a healthcare brand, pharmaceutical brand, etc., you are advancing a story about the fact that we're all living longer, or lots of us, means we can live better?
Yes, well, I think it requires, for particularly the healthcare industry. I mean, the healthcare industry still has its ideas of people aged 55 plus rooted in ill health.
Yeah.
And I think there's a mindset shift that needs to be, that, these are not sick people. You don't get to 55 and suddenly become ill.
Yeah.
If you're unlucky, you might get something. But, people are living much longer, much healthier. And those people want what I sort of think of, and some of the folks who work in this area, is sort of active prevention.
Yeah.
It's not about treating their illnesses. It's about keeping them as healthy as they can be for as long as they can be.
Yeah.
And shifting the mindset to that, and shifting your product range and the services you provide, and particularly your new product development teams to think about that is where they should all be going.
Yeah. So it's not about waiting until people are sick. It's about helping them to be...
No, and if they, and if people are sick, and, for all that people might be fighting against it, aging is a biological process. It's like...
Sorry, Brian Johnson.
Yeah, do your best, love. Let's know how it goes. But it's a biological process that at the moment we cannot stop.
No.
But you can slow it. You can do your best to keep your engine as fit and healthy as you can. And if you do get something, if you do get, you get your first chronic illness, you get diabetes or whatever it might be, or you get rheumatoid arthritis, then you don't want to get something else.
Yeah.
You don't want to see that as the beginning of a slippery slope.
Yeah.
And there is a tendency, I think, amongst healthcare companies to look at that and go, right, once you've got one thing, now how many comorbidities do I need to think about you having, and I'll deal with that. No, I might have developed rheumatoid arthritis. I haven't yet, just for the record. But I want to just make sure that I can manage that as well as I can, because if I can manage that as well as I can, that can stop me, then I won't necessarily get anything else. I won't, I'm not necessarily going to then get heart disease and then, fall over and break a hip or get osteoporosis or whatever it might be.
So it's that transformation, isn't it, that we're working on at the minute, going from, an aging society to talking about the longevity society.
Exactly. And it's about that health span, not just the lifespan.
Exactly.